they're miking up still. They're just going to sign the banner, which we'll be auctioning off this weekend.
Good morning. That just sounds like my brain's hot. Should we try that again? Good morning. Good morning. Yeah. How is everybody? I'm tired. Don't worry, we'll just try my process. Yeah. How are you, Suanne? Great to see you.
So has anyone got any questions for Lucie or Suanne?
Oh, lovely. Oh, that's better. Hello. Oh, it's... Can you
see us like this? Is that all right? Can people see us? Yes. Oh, now we're on. Now we're on.
There we go. Hello.
Who would like to ask a question?
Oh,
we got one over
questions. Excellent.
Hello. Could you talk us through, please, like the process of when you first either auditioned or was like cast for the show Twentica, and then at which point forward from that did you get like the scripts and find out more about your roles?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got an email from my agent saying we have an audition for you for Red Dwarf, and I didn't know what it was, so I was like, oh cool, dwarves, and it'll be like in a forest. I was like, oh, maybe they're going to be red. That sounds great. I don't know what it is. And then they send you the audition sides, which are excerpts from the script. They'll pick like maybe the hardest scene, you know. So I got that scene with that really long science line that I'm sure you remember. And I was like, whoa. And yeah, so then I was in New York, so I put myself on tape. And then they told me I got the part. And then when I came over to the UK to film it, I got the script about 2 weeks in advance or something like that. And then the script keeps changing though on a show like this, as I'm sure other cast members have told you that, you know, last minute changes are made, additions, and I was given more hard science-y lines. So yeah, that was kind of the quick rundown of the process for me.
Yeah, similarly, I had done, weirdly had met the casting director, I think once before, years ago, and we'd talked about Stargate, which was a show that I was in a long time ago in the States, and so we talked a bit about that, and then same thing, I was called in and actually read for both roles, read for Harmony, and also she then said, could you just read the cop? So that was quite fun and very relieved I didn't have to memorize all those very difficult science lines. And yes, I think I got the script about 2 weeks, I think, ahead of time, and then as you get closer to filming, you do a table read where you meet everybody else and all the actors come in and introduce themselves, and the writers tend to sit in on that and then change things and see what works. And obviously the actors, like Chris and Bobby and Danny, everyone who've been there for a long time, they have such a fantastic chemistry, you know, that they were able to kind of make lines go, oh, that's definitely going to work, or, you know, that needs a bit more tweaking. And then it was great. I mean, I love sitcoms. I think are one of the nicest things to do as an actor, because you get to marry theatre, which is one of my first loves, with TV, and so it's as close as you can get to doing a theatrical performance, but on TV.
Yeah, definitely. So, and I was very relieved to see that the four guys hadn't really read the script in advance and didn't know how to say any of their lines. So I was like, okay, this is good. That's less pressure on me to figure this out right now.
I think we were so lucky with Twentica because, I mean, obviously the episodes are all very different and things, but it's very rare, I was just saying to Lucie, like to get strong female leads that are funny which was, I think so great. And I loved how they took that kind of Prohibition era but made it about science. I thought that was just a really clever take. And I loved like the bit that you do with where she's kind of soliciting science. And but it's kind of done in a way like, you know, if you pay $10, I could do this or whatever.
Yeah, it's obviously the best episode of all time. So
naturally.
next question.
We need to do a spin-off series, I think, where like Harmony and the chief of police
Lady
run
Be Good
off.
Oh, thank you, Danny. We've got a question in the front left here.
Hello.
Hi there. Just following on from that question, you said you weren't familiar with Red Dwarf before you got the call. Having been in the show, did that encourage you? You enjoyed it that much that you went back and discovered like previous series? And if so, what did you actually think?
Yeah, totally. Well, when I got the audition and then I'm dating a Scottish boy, so I said, hey, have you ever heard of Red Dwarf? And he was like, yes, of course. Bad Scottish accent.
He was from Lithuania.
Scottish Lithuania, yes. And so then I was like, oh, oops, I guess I should know this. So I actually, in prep for doing the shoot, I went and watched a lot of the episodes, and I got really into it and really loved it and was so pleasantly surprised to discover this amazing world, you know, because it is a whole world, obviously, as you guys know better than me even. But I started watching a lot of the episodes and really getting into it. I was really then psyched about being a part of it.
For me, I actually worked with Danny in a British sci-fi series that had a slightly checkered history, a thing called Star Hike. And Danny came in on that, and we ended up, because at that stage I also kind of had heard of Red Dwarf but didn't know what it was, having grown up in South Africa. And then I lived
also close to Lithuania.
Yeah, very close. And then I lived in Los Angeles, so I kind of hadn't, I sort of heard of it but didn't really know what it was. But when we did Star Hike, he talked quite a lot about the concept, because I think the Star Hike writers were quite keen to make it a similar kind of comedy set in space, if you like. But unfortunately, there's only one Red Dwarf. You know, Red Dwarf is the blueprint, and everything has to kind of match that. But yeah, I kind of started watching it then, dipped in and out, and I mean, it's zany, crazy, funny, it's fab. And
I think one of the, for me, I was nervous about meeting Danny, Bobby, Chris, and Craig, because I didn't know what they would be like, if they, you know, had, if they were divas, or if they would be difficult to work with, or kind of insular.
And they are.
And they were
they love you.
And they were so great. They were so great and so generous, because it is a very unique show and a very unique format, and so you kind of have to, you know the ins and outs of it, and they were so generous with that, and just said, you know, oh, go. I remember Danny said to me, oh, put your leg up on the chair, you know, don't just pull out. You know, I pull out this little thing, and he was like, put your leg out, they'll love that. And so, you know, and it was true, they did love that. No, but they were so generous like that. And so that was, I think, for me, one of the nicest parts of working on it was how great they were, and how welcoming, you know. So that was awesome.
Also, I think they make a point of getting really good actors. So, you know, Kevin, the lovely Kevin Alden, who's hilarious.
Oh my God, he's hilarious.
Stole the show, I think. Was just, and every rehearsal was different, and every rehearsal, I mean, I've got this fantastic photograph of him in Christmas jumper day with his guns. So that was lovely also, just to work with and be part of a real British institution, I think. So.
Yeah. Great, okay, we've got another question at the front here.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello. What, in your entire careers, stand-up and other ventures, what has been the highest and lowest points, and what have you regretted, and what have you loved?
Well, the day's not over yet, so you never know. I would say Red Dwarf has definitely been a highlight for me, just because of what Suanne said, the marriage of the film and TV, film and theater, and just because it's so well written and it's such an institution, it's so special. So that Red Dwarf has definitely been one of my highlights, and I think one of my low points was when I was like in my early 20s doing a urinary tract infection medicine commercial. And I got that because I'm really good at making pain-ridden faces. Ooh, that burns. You laugh, but I'm scarred for life. There you go. Suanne, tell us your secrets.
Well, actually, one of the highlights was when I decided to do a bit of stand-up comedy and threw myself into that. That was terrifying, but one of the most exciting things ever. I think I've been really lucky, well, we both have, with wonderful TV projects, and I agree, Red Dwarf was I'm really thrilled to have been part of something, as I said, that's a British institution. Now I just need a Doctor Who, and then I've got a trifecta, Stargate. So let's put that out in the ether, okay? Many lowlights. I don't think you can really have a career as an actor without having those kind of jobs. I once had to play the wife of a pea.
Nice.
A green pea.
A pea?
The wife of a pea, not a wee, but a pea as in the
How do
vegetable.
you do that? What were you?
Well, heaven, he was a superhero. It was a commercial for the Jolly Jolly Green Giant foods. I had to play the wife of a pea who was a superhero. No training at drama school prepares you for that, you know? And you sort of find yourself going, my God, I went to the RADA for this? No, but sort of standing in a room going, and then the person going, could you do that a little more
pea-ish?
Yeah.
With more pea?
Yeah, could you do it a little more green?
Oh, wow.
And a few regrets. I mean, I don't think, regrets not so much the decisions I've made, but things that when I first moved to Los Angeles many, many years ago, Alan Parker was set to direct the film Evita. Alan Parker took over. Oliver Stone was set to direct Evita and wanted to cast an unknown, and I got down to the final two for the whole thing after like months and months and months, and had my hair dyed and the brown contact lenses and stood on the balcony going, don't cry for me, Argentina. And then, he dropped out of the project. Alan Parker took over, and some actress called Madonna did it. I wonder whatever happened to her. So, that was a bit disappointing at the time, but, it's part and parcel of the job, so no regrets.
Yeah, no regrets.
We've got a question at the back here?
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello.
Yes, it's vodka.
Slightly separate.
Sorry.
Slightly separate but related questions for both of you.
Where are you?
Suanne, obviously appearing in Red Dwarf and
Where
Star
are you?
Hike.
Yeah, where
I'm at
are
the back
you?
here.
Oh, there you
Hello.
go. Thank you.
Red Dwarf, Star Hike and Stargate, and obviously, as you just mentioned, you'd be keen to appear in Doctor Who. Do you have a particular fondness for appearing in the science fiction genre? And my question for Lucie, you've appeared in Red Dwarf and Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Do you have a fondness for appearing in things set in the 1920s?
Go ahead.
Well, I don't know if it's so much a fondness or just the fact that I think sometimes you're often cast because of the way you look. So, I have a friend who looks like she sort of stepped out of an Evelyn Waugh novel. She just, and always gets period pieces and bodice rippers and Shakespearean things. And she's got the most foul mouth, most modern woman, but she just doesn't look like that. So I clearly look like an alien is really what the message there is. My husband and I always joked because when I got the part of Hathor, she was described in the script is sort of like the most beautiful woman in the universe and everything, and then in brackets, her earthly form is a cow. So I was like, great, I hope I was cast because of my goddess qualities and not my bovine qualities. But yeah, actually, I didn't really know anything about the science fiction world or fandom at all. And one of the things I really say time and time again, because people often ask, you know, what it's like at conventions, and other actors are kind of fascinated by it. And I am so deeply grateful to the incredible fans of Stargate, Red Dwarf, Starhike, because Starhike had a very bumpy journey. Honestly, you guys are phenomenal. You're the reason why we get paid. You're the reason why shows like this stay on the air. And thank you so much.
Yeah. Everything.
You got any more questions?
1920s, yeah, I think that, you know, you're absolutely right. It has to do with appearance, and then I think for me it's also this New York accent that, you know, a lot of stuff is set in the 20s where you talk like harmony, and you do stuff like, you got it, and this bird ain't Einstein, or what did I do, all these lines. So that kind of stuff, and that fit for Fantastic Beasts as well. So yeah, I think that it has a lot to do with type and sound and kind of look, but it's fun, it's great. I mean, the costume, you know, period stuff is always fun because you get to dress up.
Yeah.
You get to kind of dive into a past world, so that's great. Or future and past.
Yeah, same time.
Okay, we've got another question at the front here for you.
Hi. Earlier you said doing sitcoms was close to theatrical acting. How would you describe the differences in the styles of acting that you were referring to?
I'm sorry, I don't quite understand what you mean.
Like, what's different from theater and film? What are the differentions?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I'm quite ignorant.
No, that's fine. Sorry, I just wanted to be clear.
Sorry, I'm still hungover. I really apologise, everyone.
Hair of the dog, that's what you need.
You guys want a
I
5-minute
need
nap? Does everybody just want to take a nap time?
Well, probably the biggest difference is that in a theatrical production, whether it's a straight play or a musical, you are given quite a chunk of time up front. So you're given 5 weeks, maybe 6 weeks, 4 weeks to rehearse, where you come in every day and you figure it out together as a cast. And then on the opening night, there's a performance, and then of course it runs for an extended period of time. So maybe it's a year, maybe it's 6 months, and it'll change. It'll be something that sort of organically changes during that time, and a director will come in and oversee and say, right, that, you know, and you also rely heavily on an audience's response when you're doing a live piece, whether it be a solo stand-up piece or whether it's a big Hollywood blockbuster musical or whatever. And then film is a very different process, because a feature film, you often shoot out of context. So you may shoot the very end of the film at the beginning of the day and at the beginning of the film. So that's quite difficult, because technically it requires a different skill. You have to read the story as an overall, know your character's journey, obviously know all your lines, and then it shoots just completely out of context. And what I love about sitcom is that you have the best of both worlds, if you like, because you've got the chance to do it again. If you go, I'm not happy with that take, or something goes wrong, you can do that, say, let's try that again, which you can't do in a live theatre, although that's also quite exciting.
Yeah, people love that.
But you also have the luxury and the lovely excitement of rehearsing for 7 days or 6 days, so it's like an accelerated rehearsal process.
I was just talking to Mark Dexter,
Yeah.
about that yesterday, that I've done a lot of theater as well, and I started out doing more theater, and he did as well, so we were both saying that we got to set to do the live audience taping for Red Dwarf, and we nailed it in the first go, and everybody was like, wow, you got that in the first go, and we were like, yeah, it's live, like, we're used to that, what are you talking about, you can do it again, like, it's a totally different thing. And I would just add that you know, film acting is very subtle. Everything is like very much happens in your eyes and internally. And for theater, it's very external. You really have to, you know, play it out and really, you know, do things bigger.
Exactly.
Obviously, because you're sometimes in front of, you know, 500 or 1,000 people even. And so it's great. The sitcom is great because you do it for the audience and you get the instant feedback, the instant laugh, and, you know, the instant feedback, but at the same time, you can be very intimate in the scene, so you don't have to really, you know, do these unnatural kind of turning your body out and not looking at someone when you're speaking to them. So you can still do that, but you're performing it for people at the same time. So it's very, it's a really an amazing experience, especially for comedy, obviously, because as a comedian or as an actor doing comedy, you kind of know where the laughs will be. You know, obviously you see what makes you laugh when you read it, but then there's always laughs that you don't expect. And, you know, the more work you've done in comedy, you know, oh, there's gonna be those in there. I wonder where those will be. And then there's laughs that you don't get that you do expect. So you know, you kind of anticipate stuff like that happening. And what's great about the sitcom is that it happens right then and there. And I remember after our first take, you know, big laughs, and then they said, all right, we'll do it again. And Danny looked at me and said, you know where the laughs are now, baby. And I was like, yeah, I sure do. It was great.
Is it very different doing a kind of solo stage show in terms of, because like you don't, like who drives that? You know, if you're in a rehearsal with lots of people, you kind of you have to show up. I would always be so worried if I did a solo show that I would just be really lazy and be like, nah, I'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, we always joke, because I've taken 3 solo comedy hours to Edinburgh. Thank you.
Very
that was
good.
Not a Lithuanian accent.
No, perfect. Perfect.
But a lot of the comics that go to Edinburgh joke like, oh, you started writing your show more than 10 days before the festival started, like you're a traitor. You know, like you can't do that. But yeah, you have to drive it, obviously.
Yeah,
it's got to be you. And then as any live performance, you know, it's a give and take between you and the audience, obviously. Yeah, definitely. But you have to drive it. Yeah. But you learn. If you're lazy, then you're out there with nothing but, you know.
an empty house.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Does that answer your question a bit? Cool.
Great, thank you. We've got a question in the middle of the room here, ladies.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Just from a theatre perspective, are there any specific roles that you've played that you've either really loved, or has you got anything on your list that you really want to do in theatre, apart from Eva Braun?
Well, funny enough, I know. Now I'm like, yeah. Oh gosh, yes, many.
So you're asking roles that we'd like to play? What we'd like to play? Was that the question?
In theatre, particularly, I think.
Oh God, there's so many. I mean, I've always wanted to play Hamlet.
Yeah.
And so that's not that weird, actually. There was an actress, one of the most famous, like old school actresses, Sarah Bernard, a French actress, played Hamlet in the early 20s, I think it was. And I've seen a great German actress do it. So I've always wanted to play men in Shakespeare plays.
But I think if ever there was a time to do it, it's now, because we've had Glenda Jackson doing King Lear, which was, you know, an extraordinary feat for a woman to play such an iconic male Shakespearean role. And now Philip Lloyd has done like an all-female Julius Caesar, which was fascinating. So yeah, let's get your Hamlet on.
So yeah, that, like, if that, you know, dream parts. And I guess all the classics, and there's some really good new plays as well. I mean, any, you know, complex, strong character is, I've never encountered a character that was, you know, multidimensional that I didn't want to play. It's the ones where it's like, hot bitchy chick number 3, you know, that's the stuff where you're like, maybe not anymore.
Same. I would love to do. I'd love to do Lady Macbeth. And from a singing point of view, I would really love to do something that Follies would be a good one to play Phyllis, who gets to sing a sort of beast of a song, which is about 15 pages. And I'd love to play the MC in Cabaret. I spent a year doing the tour of Cabaret. Actually did 2 weeks here at the lovely theatre, playing the Nazi prostitute. There we go, aliens and Nazi prostitutes, that's my casting.
Same thing.
And wives of
Same
Super Peas.
Yeah, it's all connected.
But yeah, I mean, that would be a brilliant role. And that, apparently there is an actress in Germany who's done the MC, which would be, that's not been done here. There's so many, lots of like, agree though, interesting, complex, and something funny. I would really love to do something funny. I very rarely, that's sort of why I started doing stand-up, because people kept going, oh, you're funny. And I never, ever get cast in funny things. Oh, ha, she's here.
Barrel, Big Bang Barrel. Cool.
Have you got any other questions at all?
There's some hands going up here.
Oh my God, after you.
Lucie, can you do a British accent?
Now that you've put me on the spot.
That's hard.
Is that enough? Is that good? Does that qualify? By the way, there's a lot of, obviously, like, northerners here, and I have found out I cannot understand a word of what they're saying. And I thought I was doing so well because I can finally understand my Scottish boyfriend after 3 years. And I was just like, what? I'm sorry. I keep nodding and going, yeah, I'll figure it out as they go along. And then I'm like, no, I can't. And I go, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that? I didn't understand. But yes, I can. Yes, but I'm a bit nervous in front of all you experts right now. So, the timid British accent. Or I can do like a comic version, which is not that real, of the lady that does my PR. She talks like this. Her name's Mel. Oh my God, Lucie! I can't believe it. So yeah, that's good. I grew up watching. I moved to the States. We moved to the States when I was 8 from Germany. I'm German. I don't know if you guys know that, which makes it worse. I'm sorry. But yeah, so I couldn't speak English, and my dad said watch as much TV as you can, which was amazing because I wasn't allowed to watch TV back in Germany, and I just watched Monty Python all the time. And like particularly Foxy Tower.
Yes, so good.
I became obsessed, and
Basil's got all these obsessions, darling, don't know.
And I actually hadn't really properly been to the UK. I'd been like transferred at the airport, but I'd never really been to the UK since until 2014, believe it or not. And I remember being in London and sitting outside in a cafe, and there was these 3 grannies, and they were like, "Oh, big funeral tomorrow, isn't there? Yeah." And the other one was like, "Didn't know the chat, no." And I was like, oh my God, they all talk like Monty Python. It's a real thing. I just wanted to like eat it all up. It was so great. And I still have that, like I get really happy when I hear like English people talk, because it's Monty Python for me, you know? That's my Red Dwarf, you know?
And I said, I'm terribly sorry, and they put it on my most sort of perfect English. I said, I'm terribly sorry. Could you tell us where South Queensferry is? Because we're terribly lost. And this guy sort of went, oh, wait, it's very simple. I got to help you. It's all right. It's all right. And then, oh, that's a little bit around the down the bits for the right. You got that? And I was like, thank you so much. No clue.
Okay, we've got another question down here. I'll have to pass the mic down the line.
Hi.
Hi.
What was Doug like as a director?
Oh, great. Yeah, he was so great. He was very laid back.
Very laid back.
I don't remember him really imposing. He knew exactly what he wanted, but he let us sort of, in the rehearsal, he just watched us.
Yeah.
Didn't say anything at first and just saw, kind of took note of what we were doing. And then, just went with what worked. And I didn't feel like he wasn't like most directors who are trying to, put their vision out there and get their thing kind of done. He gave us a lot of free rein. That's what I remember from
I think, again, it's that thing of coming into something that they are like a family, They have a shorthand, they know each other. When I worked on Stargate, it was a similar thing. They were together 10 years. So, I was in the very beginning, but when I went back, I was like, by then there's a shorthand that they have. And there's a wonderful story of Clint Eastwood directing where he never goes action. And I can't do Clint Eastwood's voice, but he's very quiet and intense, and apparently sort of just goes up to the actors and goes, "Now I'd like you to do it like this. Okay, when you're ready, go." And that's all he sort of says, "Go," and then that's it. And Doug was a little bit like that he was like,
lucky.
Yeah, exactly. But Doug was a bit like that he was just kind of like very quietly confident. So there wasn't this thing of like, "I'd like you to do this." And every now and then he would kind of step in and go, "Do that line to that camera." So there were more kind of technical notes, or "Wait for the laugh here, that was really good." And then kind of would be able to stand back. So yeah, he was great. Lovely, lovely man.
Cool.
I'm lost, so there we are. Have we got any more questions for the ladies, please? Stick your hand up. Oh,
cool. Yep.
Challenge Annika, here she goes. Work off that English breakfast.
Hi there.
Hello.
Question for you both. At previous Dimension Jumps, some of the most unexpected pleasures have been when guest actors have done the thing that they do when they're not on Red Dwarf. And Tony told us about going around Ireland with a fridge, and John Lenahan did a stand-up set, and I just wondered if we could expect anything like that from you guys.
What did you say?
What are our secret pleasures?
No, I think
no, just things you do. Like say, if you do, are we going to hear your stand-up?
Things that we do when we're not here.
No, she said, can they
Other
hear
things
our stuff? You're asking if you're gonna hear that.
Yeah, when John Lenahan came, for example, he did his stand-up set for us at some point in the weekend. But no?
I'm sorry, good morning.
Yeah, I'll be doing some stand-up tonight.
Cool.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I have to leave because I'm filming tomorrow morning, so I have to go straight after the session this afternoon.
We can all watch her leave, though.
I could leave in a comedy fashion with a song if you like.
That's the thing you do.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, gosh. I'm not sure I'm ready to sing right now. It's a bit early. Maybe later. But soon, sorry.
Okay, any more final questions for the ladies, please?
There's some up here.
Oh.
There's a sparkly hand that's gone up.
Okay. Big Bang Barrel.
Right, both of you ladies have done stand-up. I'm trying to be clear, I'm very Geordie. I do apologise.
It's my fault. That is the best accent ever and the hardest accent in the world to do. I can only do 2 words, and that's so when somebody gets sick and they get rushed to the ear and ear.
The ear and ear. Got it. Well, Michael McIntyre's right. Geordies only have 1 vowel. But I'm looking to go into stand-up personally at some stage. What advice would you give to somebody starting out in that terrifying field?
Yeah, just do it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You know, it's like people always say about writing, if you want to write. And I completely understand, because I'd spent years being an actress and I'd done comedy shows, but never my own stuff. And I would never have done it. But a girlfriend of mine said, "I'm sorry, but you are hilarious. So I'm just entering you into this competition." And she's very South African. And she's like, "You're doing it." And she booked an open mic night. And I kind of laughed it off and went, "Well, I'll pull out closer to the time." And she wouldn't let me, and she just stayed on me, that thing about drive. And suddenly, about 3 days before, I thought, "Oh shit, I have no material. I haven't," and very nearly walked out on the night, because I kind of looked at what everyone else was doing, and they were telling very dirty jokes and everything. And I was like, "Oh, I'm just going to be talking about being an actress living in LA. Oh, this, I'm going to be crucified," you know. And I'll never forget kind of walking up, and the MC asked me, he said, "Do you have any special requests, you know, before you go on stage?" And I was shaking so much that I just said, "Put the mic in the stand," like that, because I knew if they saw my hand shaking, I was like, because if they smell fear on you, you haven't. And I was like, and I just remember getting the first laugh, and that was it. It was just like running and free falling off a cliff. And then I went back to LA, and I carried on doing it in LA, and then, you know, bit by bit you get confidence, as you say, you learn what works, what doesn't work. Something you should try and do here, though, if you're really terrified and don't want to do it on your own, there's a group of women called Funny Women, which is run by a lady who started specifically for that, for women trying to get into stand-up. And you can do a course, you can enter, they do a competition every year. A friend of mine last year was one of the semi-finalists. It's completely changed her career. And she is very Scottish, and she does this, like, you know, she's like this sort of very hilarious kind of housewife who does all these. And so there's a market for everyone, you know what I mean? I think you can just do it, that's what I say. Yeah. But you're much more the...
No, I would just also say that, you know, nobody has it figured out. Like, even the people that have made it, and you think like, oh, you know, they know what... All of us, no matter what stage, you know, you have experience after a while, but everybody's always terrified, and nobody has it figured out. There's no recipe, there's no way to do it, there's no right or wrong, you know. It's all about being you and being unique and doing what you think is funny. And then the bombing, as we call it, when you don't get laughs, unfortunately, is some of the most valuable stuff for you when you're actually wanting to do stand-up, because it's those situations that teach you what works and what doesn't work more than the situations where you get laughs, because laughs are fickle, you know what I mean? Like, now we're in a room full of people that are in a good mood, and you're here to see us, and we're here to see you, and it's all good, you know, and so we're making each other laugh, and then, you know, a joke that I may do with you guys may get a huge laugh, and then you go into another room the next day and everybody's lunch was not great, and, you know, people are sitting in uncomfortable seats and the lighting is weird, and I don't know, you know, there's so many factors, and then you don't get any laughs. But those are the situations that teach you how to kind of persevere and work on your material. So and I would just say, you know, do it because you're interested in the, like, science and the art of it, and not because you want to be famous or you want to, like, get people to love you, you know. So if you do it for that, then it's really great, because then you look at it like an inventor trying out different things and you know, making little inventions, jokes, you know, and you hit it, and it's hit or miss, but it's fine, you know. I think the ones that work are great, the ones that don't, throw them away,
And I completely agree with that. I think you learn more. I mean, my first sort of 4 stand-up appearances, because I did that open mic night, I won that night, I then was booked back the next night, I stormed the joint, the 3rd night I stormed the joint, the 4th night I bombed, and I mean bombed, not one, same material, different crowd. They were very sports mad. They just sort of sat there looking at me like I mean, and it was...
Like you have 18 heads.
Yeah, it was horrendous. And I just remember thinking, oh my God, this has all been, I don't know what I'm doing. But afterwards I was like, oh, actually, no, you've got to know your audience. And it taught me more. That was the most valuable evening then, until the next bomb. And also the other thing I was just going to say is that there's so many wonderful forms of stand-up. You know, you could be a singing stand-up, you could be there are people who do storytelling, there are people who do sketch comedy with stand-up. There's a stand-up comedian called Louisa Omelan, I think so. You know, and her thing, Amelian, that's it. Her thing started just because she's obsessed with Beyonce. And she eventually wrote a show called What Would Beyonce Do? And it's fantastic because it's empowering for women. She's hilarious. You know, there's so many different angles that you could do. Just do it. Okay, will you let us know?
Yeah.
Yeah, keep us posted. Tweet us and say, I did it! Yeah. Look them up on Twitter, they're great.
Cool. Okay, we've got another question in the middle here. Lucie, you play Mercy in Overwatch. Just wanted to know what it's like voicing a video game character compared to voicing or doing the other sort of voice work.
Heroes never die. It's awesome. We were just talking about that. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's really interesting because it's obviously a whole nother universe that you're entering there. And some of the most fun stuff is what we call exertions, and that's all the like sounds, like so it'll be like, okay, now you're dying through being like crushed by a heavy object, so it's like oh, right, and now you're like dying through being burnt by something, and it's like so you're doing that for like 3 hours, and then you're like, this is my job. Like, what the fuck? Yeah. But so that's really fun. But the best thing about it, I would say, are the fans, and that it's this whole universe, and that the fans really get into the characters and spend so much time with these characters that they develop a relationship with them, and they develop a relationship with your voice because you're the one speaking to them. So it's crazy and cool.
That's funny. I did a Doctor Who episode, but an audio for Big Finish, and exactly that. We had to do running, and that was the most, you know, having done the whole thing, and then I was sort of standing on the spot going, oh, the aliens are coming! Yeah. Run! They're coming! Yeah, crazy way to make a living. Well, that quietened the room.
Okay, have we got any more questions for the lady? Oh, around here. Oh, Joey's there already.
You're talking about the stand-up you do earlier on. What's the best, or rather for you, the worst heckle you've heard? And in regard of that, what's the best put down you've got?
I don't really have a stock one. My very first stand-up ever, I walked on stage and a guy in the front went, "Show us your tits!" And I looked at him and I said, "Only if you behave, because honey, they're splendid and they're real." Thank you.
One of my good friends, Tom Rhodes, who's a well-known stand-up comedian in the States, has, I think, a great line. If somebody gets really out of hand, he goes, and he's from Florida, so he kind of has this like more like a little bit more southern thing to his cadence, and he goes, "I would call you a cocksucker, but I know you're trying to quit." I love that.
That's great.
So great. Yeah.
Oh, I might steal
Can't
that.
beat that. Yeah, the worst heckle. God, it's weird. Like, I always forget these. I think it's worse, like heckling, I don't mind as much as like people falling asleep. You're like, really? Really, dude? Like, is it that bad? Or are you, I mean, sometimes in Edinburgh, it's like, you do so many shows, and sometimes I think people just go to see shows so they can sit down. Because you're like, what are you doing here? You're not interested. You just want to sit and sleep, basically. So for me, sleeping is worse than heckling.
Yeah, and phones for me is a bit, I mean, I don't mind in an environment like this at all, but if you're in a dark theatre, and this goes for a play, a musical, stand-up, you know, you guys can see us, we can see you. So taking your phone out and going, you know, or this, I can see that. I can see the red button, I can see, and it's incredibly distracting to be on stage, particularly, well, any performance actually, whether you're singing, stand-up, acting, and suddenly see a mobile phone light up. It's really jarring. I mean, there's a fantastic clip on YouTube somewhere of Patti LuPone just going...
Yeah, on Broadway. She went nuts.
Ape shit, honey. Sorry, for want of a better word. Pardon with all the children in the room, block your ears. Just Google it. She just,
right now. Take out your phone.
Yeah, get your phone. But yeah, I think... oh dear. But I was just trying to think also, worst heckle. I'm like you, I don't really mind... They're often, I think, for female comics, they're often sexual things.
Yeah.
It's all, you know what I mean? And it's a bit like, honey, I'm an actress. Do you think I haven't heard that before? Yeah. I don't really have any good comebacks. I'm going to steal that one. That's the best. That just tops everything.
I know, I can't top that either.
Okay, any more questions for the ladies, please?
Everyone's gone silent. Oh, yes.
Oh,
going once.
one at the back there, Joey. I think we made that. Probably have our last question there.
Hello again.
Hello.
Oh, hello again.
Stand-up comedy. What are your thoughts or experiences around sort of improv, doing group improv work, things like that?
Yeah, so I've done a lot of that. There's the Upright Citizens Brigade in the States that's really big, and they kind of have this formula that they work with. Yeah, it's great. It's not particularly my thing because it's a little bit too restrained for me. I like to kind of improvise in situations, but not in this like pattern formula game. They call it the game. But improv, for me, the greatest thing that I learned from improv is the rule of yes and I think that's really great for anybody's life, everyone's life. Yes and, that you don't shut things down, that you go with them and kind of see where they take you, you know, and you're not resistant. Because I think we're naturally resistant, especially living in big cities and being so, you know, kind of guarded and always kind of having your elbows out. Yeah, the yes and is my favorite thing that I've learned through improv. I've done it, but it's not really what I love to do. Yeah, I don't know about you.
I love improv. I spent 6 months with the Groundlings when I lived in LA. And I've just recently done quite a lot of work with the Showstoppers in London, who are phenomenal.
Yeah. And
that, for me, is one of the most difficult but satisfying things ever, to improvise a musical on the spot. And I am continually gobsmacked at how brilliant they are, that they not only can all sing, but can then make up funny songs on the spot. So I've been doing some workshops with them, and one of the women who's their producers is busy working on something else. I've been working with her with that. And I've done quite a lot of stuff with Hoopla. And I agree, the best thing about improv, and this rule of yes and, for those of you who don't know, is that always in an improvised situation, the idea is that if I came and went, oh my goodness, there's an alien that's just come into the room, and he's got 5 heads, and he said he wants to have a word with you, that our natural thing would be like, it's not an alien, it's a dog, which is instantly a no and shutting it down. So I throw it to you, and you've got to go, really? Well, I told him he's late. He was meant to be here at 5:30. Now, and you move the story on. So that's, and it's a remarkable thing when you actually give into the power of that and go, yeah, let's play. Because that's really what improv and acting is, I think. We get to play for a living. I mean, how brilliant is that? So yeah, I love improv. Are you an improv fan? Is that why you asked?
Do an amount of it anyway, so fan, but also I get involved in workshops.
Oh, brilliant. Whereabouts?
There's a reasonable size scene in Leicester, and then every 6 months is like an improv gathering, so for the UK network, so that's
great. Cool. Excellent.
Showstoppers is awesome.
Get together and play games, workshop, figure out how to move on. Yes, and is a brilliant one.
Yeah.
Music stuff as well. I do quite a lot of music simulated games.
Brilliant.
Show-stopping and things like that. Irish drinking song is an absolute hit, though.
Yeah.
That's probably the hardest thing in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, cool.
I'm afraid we're going to have to show our appreciation for Lucie and Suanne. That's the end of the questions, so thank you so much.